So a big convention just happened, one that I've never attended.
GenCon, baby!
GenCon! There's the musical episode again. This is something that... So I got into board games in the month of July in 2012.
That's specific.
It was very specific, but I remember that first Gen Con and how just glued to social media I was when it was going on. And then every year after that, it's the convention I would follow the most. Origins, there are some releases, but it's not a big, a bunch of releases. I just remember the excitement of that first one where I think, Netrunner was coming out, and that was kind of the big thing for me, and I was very excited about that. Anyway, I'm just excited about Gen Con, about the games that are coming out, and I want to discuss some of the highlights we saw on social media. Neither of us were there, which is fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's fine. We convince ourselves of. And so in this segment, let's just go back and forth and talk about games that interest us, things that we kind of saw on social media that kind of stood out to us, and why it excites us. Let's start with you.
Yeah. The first game I want to talk about is a game called Everdell. Everdell is a game by, is it Starling Games?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so as the Monday hit this week, we start seeing the hashtag GenCon hauls coming out. And I am able to take a look at everybody's hauls that are literally at least a minimum a suitcase. It's people buy so much, and it makes me so happy because I get to be able to see what people are interested in and what they picked up and what have you. And I swear Everdell has been in the majority of all these different pictures that I've seen. And I think for really good reason, because I think the production levels, the illustration, everything on the front cover of this game looks A+.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Have you heard or seen much about Everdell?
So I was super close to backing it. Starling Games is a rebrand of Game Salute. Yeah.
Ooh,
of Game
really?
Salute. Yeah.
Oh,
so there's
that dropped.
Exactly.
The stock plummeted just a tiny bit for me.
Exactly. But it almost seems like they've redeemed themselves with this one.
Mm-hmm.
The collector's edition, which I think is what people are picking up, just looks beautiful. The components are amazing. Ultimately, I think it's just a card game. I don't know a lot about the gameplay. I don't really do well with card games. I don't like reading a bunch of text on cards.
Yeah.
That's kind of something that kind of is a downside for me. But it just looks beautiful. Honestly, I've heard it has excellent gameplay as well. And maybe the rebrand to Starling is working, and maybe they have changed their ways, just because I've heard so many bad stories about Game Salute through Kickstarter. And so it's not one that I'll probably pick up, but I think it does look fantastic.
Yeah, doesn't it also have a 3D board?
Yeah. So it's a board with, there's a tree sticking out of one side that you put a deck of cards onto, I believe. And then the components, there's wood and other components that look cool.
Yeah, and really too, I've seen I think snippets or just little blips of it in social media, and then this year I've literally seen everybody buy it. So I just said, from a face value, just looking at it in terms of what it's presenting out the door, yeah, I would definitely say if I see it on the shelf, I'm gonna definitely take a look at it. Really want to play it. Everdell by Starling Games.
That's cool. For me, there's an expansion that's coming up for the Grizzled from Simon. And this is a game that I have not played a lot, but I really enjoyed it. And the people I've played it with really enjoyed it. And I love the concept. This brings in the idea of a campaign, but not just a campaign, but fully painted miniatures that represent your character. And it's in the style of the art, which is that those French artists... I wish I remember their names. I do not remember one of them.
It's very famous, I think, French cartoonist that was killed because of what he was in a very political moment at the time that game was coming out. That was a big thing a couple of years ago, is that French artist had died, and so that was one of the last pieces that he had done. So Grizzled has been doing really well, I think, for what type of game it is in a Simon type of area. Yeah, doing really well.
It's a small box. It's a heavy game. It's a heavy theme, right? You're just trying to be supportive of your friends trying to get through World War I. And it is this heavy theme, but I just love how they execute it. And having those I know I see miniatures for a game like this and I'm like, well, that's an instant buy. And then And then my thought process is, oh, maybe you'll get me to actually play this game, which does happen sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't. But that's the Grizzled expansion. I don't know what it's called.
Did you ever get a chance? You didn't bring this out. We talked about this, actually. It comes, like, the Grizzled comes up, I want to say, like, almost every episode or two, where you're always like, oh, what is that little tiny World War I game that Simon comes out? And so, like, the Grizzled has this thing in our last few episodes in which we always forget it. But you didn't bring this out to play, because this is also the game that your wife also enjoys, and it's like a cooperative game, right?
Yeah, it's like one of the few cooperative games. Wait, it might have been the only cooperative game she's actually liked.
Yeah,
because it's one that there isn't like an alpha gamer, and not that was an issue, because that's more of an issue with the game group, I think, than the game itself. But it's just, she just doesn't care. She wants to win. She wants to beat people, which I think we talked about before.
Yeah.
But yeah.
The next game I want to talk about is Arboretum, or as I found on an internet thread, Arboretum.
That's not right, is it?
So there's a screenshot that on the back of the card, they missed the R, so it says Arboretum.
Oh, no.
Yeah, dude.
Wait,
so
on every
funny.
card then?
I think so.
Of the new printing?
Yeah. Arboretum.
Oh, that hurts my soul. I've played this game. It's fantastic. My sister-in-law randomly has a copy of the Z-Man edition.
Yeah,
so.
the Z-Man green version, right? Like, cause
the one with the correct spelling on the back.
Whoa. Call your fire department.
Shots fired.
Damn. Yeah, Arboretum, this reprint by Renegade Game Studios, looks amazing. Unfortunately for their editing department, they are probably going to have to lay down some repercussions, because boy, was that a bad typo and misspell on them. But honestly, that doesn't deter me from wanting to get this game. And I actually pre-ordered the deluxe version, which is going to come in a fancy wooden case, and it's going to have like cool foiled art and things. And I somewhat hope that it has the misspelling on the back, just because it doesn't ruin anything for me. I think it is actually kind of adorable. I do not know why anybody in the world would want to return their game of Arboretum just because they're missing an R. Not that I want to have people going out there and being like, oh yeah, so now I can go ahead and just like not misspell things. Don't get me wrong. Like, this is a very rare occasion. Mm-hmm. But
it's a reminder that we're human.
True.
It's okay, guys.
It's true. And like I said, I don't want this to be something that always slips up. But in this case, for Renegade, like, again, they're kind of known for their, stellar productions and the recent games that they're coming off. And for them to be able to kind of have a blunder like this, it's like, it just stinks. But at the same time, like, I just also realized that I'm talking more about the misspelling than the actual game itself. But I'm excited to play this. Again, the illustration, looking at it in the front cover, I did not have the opportunity to play the Z-Man version, but this set collection game by Z-Man / now Renegade Game Studios, totally interested in checking out and playing.
Well, it's fun because it plays great with just a small card game, and it brings in set collection, but also spatial placement of your trees on the table, and it's just fantastic. We both really like that.
Excellent.
Both of us being my wife and I read them. So the next one for me is the third in a series by
Matt Leacock.
Crap. Thank you, Matt Leacock.
I'm here
Forbidden
to save
Sky.
you.
Thank you. Forbidden Sky. So there was Forbidden Desert, and then there was Forbidden.
Are you serious? Come on.
Forbidden Water.
Oh my god! No.
Okay,
you're killing me. You're killing me. You're close though.
Okay. Forbidden Water. Just kidding.
Dude.
I don't remember. What is it?
Forbidden Island.
Oh my gosh, I'm an idiot.
What kind of board game podcaster are you?
And I've played both of them. That's the thing. Like, I've played both of those games.
Yeah.
So I'm not a big fan of co-ops like that. It's just not my thing. But now that I have a kid who I think can appreciate these games, and he loves space, and the space theme gets me, and that freaking spaceship miniature that goes with this game just looks fantastic. So I think this is a game that I can get into. I honestly don't know how it plays. If it plays anything like the other two, I'm fine with that. I think it's a way to get my son into it. Forbidden Sky by who's publishing it? I'm assuming the same people, right?
Yeah. Game Right,
Yeah.
I think, is still publishing it.
Yeah.
How do you
Game
feel?
Right, so
How do you feel about it not being in a tin case?
that's actually a plus for me as well.
Yeah.
Tins are the worst. The only tin game I have right now is Sushi Go Party Edition.
Yay!
And the game's fantastic, so I'm okay that it's in a tin. But freak, like the lids don't stay on. They get smashed too easily.
True.
You can't put them on a shelf anywhere else, so they just kind of stick out. Oh, there's that other game that's coming out, Junk Orbit. It's in a freaking cylinder tube.
Yeah, that is a really awkward game.
It looks great. The game itself looks great. Anyway, that's not what we're talking about. Forbidden Sky.
Cool. The next game I want to be able to talk about is a game that is near and dear to my heart because I've been doing a lot of volunteer work for this company, and that is Root by Leader Games. This game knocks it out of the park. They killed it on their Kickstarter fulfillment. They killed it with their production. They killed it with game design. I mean, it was just, I think, 10 to 10s across the board. But again, take my word as a grain of salt, just because I am affiliated with the company just on a volunteer level. I am not paid by them in order to do any of this type of promotion. But I do want to give credit where credit is due. And Root is just a phenomenal game. The people behind that did the art, Kyle Farron, Cole Worley, Worley. It's not Whirl. Worley. Yeah, Worley. Yeah, sorry, it's spent way too long on that, but yeah, he's such a smart guy. He knows what he's doing. Patrick Leader connecting it all together. Graphic design department. I've had the opportunity to meet everybody behind that team, which interestingly, I've kind of. What was it that I had read somewhere? But like Leader Games to me is like the microbrewery of board games. Like it's just right, just because it's like they came out with this awesome board game, and they're just a very close knit group of people. It isn't like this whole like manufactured thing, and they just created something really unique. Bringing the coin system, I think, to the general public, which I think scares a lot of people away with board games, right? Yeah. And yeah, just. I don't know. Root, they did so well this year. I'm so proud of everybody. I tweet a lot about them, and just because I'm just, I'm a fanboy. I love what they do. I'm a fan. I try to help out where I can. These dudes are great. They deserve it.
And people are freaking out on social media about this game, which just warms my heart. I love that they're seeing this success. I have a copy staring at me right now. I backed it, and it's just beautiful. This is one of the only expansion boxes I'm having a hard time throwing away.
Mm-hmm, right.
Kyle's work is just so fantastic. And I love the size. Okay, a couple things. I haven't played it yet, but the size of the rule book is just beautiful. Not number of pages, but the actual dimensions of the rule book. I love when games do that. There's been a couple other games that have it that size. And just the size of the box. There is no wasted space in there. I can fit the base game and the expansion in one box, and there's no like extra space. Mm-hmm. It's not giant. It's just, I just love the production value. They killed it with this game. Yeah. I'm very excited to get it to the table.
Yeah, very cool. Root by Leader Games.
For me, there is an expansion out for Giant Killer Robots by Weta Workshop. It's the Sweet and Salty expansion, and it's 2 new factions, 2 new giant mechs with their little helper mechs. And what's fun about this is that one's purple and one's pink, and I really don't know anything more about the expansion. But here's the thing: I was checking the price for them for pre-order, and the pre-order for this expansion, which has 2 factions, is $130.
Wow.
That is more than I spent on the base game itself, and that's a hard pill for me to swallow, to the point where I'm probably not going to get them. Wow. I don't think I played the game enough to warrant paying more than I paid for the base game for just 2 more factions when I haven't even played all the factions multiple times in this copy. But that kind of hurts me a little bit because it looks fantastic. I think that it would be super fun to play. I have a hard time eating that much cash for that game.
This is a first for me. I had no idea that GKR was coming out with an expansion like this. I was
surprised, yeah.
I really want to look into this more, but that is a really tough pill to swallow. Having an expansion with 2 new mechs and decks be more than the base game. That doesn't make any sense to me. There's got to be more to it than we think.
And that's probably true. There is probably more to it, but still, I even if there is more, I don't think it's completely doubling your content. I don't know. Honestly, if you like the game a lot, if you play the game a lot, then this is a no-brainer for you. I don't play the game enough to warrant that expansion, but it looks beautiful, and they did a great job on production from the pictures I've seen. But that's the expansion for Giant Killer Robots by Weta Workshop.
By Portal Games, a new hot board game that came out from them is called Detective, a modern crime board game. I think in the last couple of years, we've had Sherlock Holmes. What is it? Detective something or others.
Consulting Detective.
Consulting Detective. Thank you.
Forbidden Water.
I hate you. Yeah, you know. Yeah, Sherlock Holmes, Forbidden Water. Shoot, now I just lost my whole concentration because I was like trying to think
detective.
of like, yeah, I was like, Detective, Forbidden Sand, or something silly. I don't know. But anyways, getting back on track, Detective, a modern crime board game, takes the Sherlock Holmes consulting detective format and puts it into a modern age time. And from what I can see and tell, they definitely have a hit on their hands. I am super anxious to give this a try, yet I really feel like in the next couple of months, this will hit the third market, or this people are going to get through this game and they're going to probably end up selling it through BGG. And yeah. I think I'm going to hold out. I think I'll honestly be able to obtain a copy before I'll get it new, unless the game does such a great job and they support it well afterwards, because I see That's this true. As a no-brainer. Oh my gosh. No-brainer. What is going on, Jacob? What is happening? Forbidden Water. Time. Yeah. Okay. Detective. Oh man. If they support this game well, if they release little expansion packs, because all it is really is just like a deck of cards that you flip over, very legacy style, like we're seeing in these games. You could put out a case, $10-15 for a card to get like an awesome 2 to 4 hours worth of game time to this. I see people keeping their copy. I think I'm going to hold out. I'm going to hold out for right now, and we'll see. I think if we get a smattering of different, because Portal is Polish, so if they end up announcing like new detective cases at Spiel this year, that's gonna I think reduce my chances as far as getting one. But $50, having the internet be the thing. I've heard that it's just great. You can kind of jump in, jump out. Detective, man. I think Portal did a great job. I think rebounding from First Martians.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. The thing that excites me about this one is the integration of technology.
Yeah.
How you can feel like you're going into the database to look at stuff. I'm very excited about that one as well.
Yeah, that'll be awesome. That's Detective, a modern crime board game by Portal Games.
The next one for me is a game by Simon and Eric Lane called Victorian Masterminds. Here's the thing about this. I don't know a lot about it, but it looks like it's a different type of game than we've seen from them lately, meaning it's not just a dudes on a map. Now, this does have great miniatures, but it's more of a worker placement, and it just looks very different than what we've seen lately. And it's that difference, it's that change of style that gets me interested. So I'll probably wait and see how reviews are when it comes out and do a bit more research, but that's definitely one that has piqued my interest. That's Victorian Masterminds from Simon. I'd say more, but I honestly have no idea anything else about it.
Again, too, I'm in the same boat. I think I saw a couple pictures of it. Illustration looks great. Typical Simon fare.
Yeah.
I'm color me interested. Not sure I'm ever going to back this one, but when it comes out, I am sure to pay attention to it. That's for sure.
Yeah, totally. I feel like I'm a lot more picky this year with my GenCon interest, just because I don't want a lot of the same. So I think that's what's kind of tipped me off with a lot of these, like things that are a bit different.
Yeah, true. The next game I want to talk about is actually a Target exclusive, and that game is called Villainous. Villainous is a Disney board game where you play as the villains of Disney movies. And pro tip, it doesn't suck.
That's what I've heard.
Right? Like, Villainous has gotten some huge hype over the last couple of weeks, especially at GenCon, seen it in a bunch of people's halls. I picked up a copy of this game. I fell into the hype really hard. This game was actually the hardest game for me to find. We have like, I don't know, a numerous amount of Target stores in our area, and I ordered it online. It failed. I had to end up like going to some obscure Target that I never go to actually pick up a copy. But when I cracked this guy open and learned how to play, it's for a so Disney board games I don't think you really associate into the hobby market, but I really think Villainous is going to be the first game that really proves that an IP like Disney and you playing as a villain is really is formidable, is something that is worth playing. And it's going to be weird because this also is ripe for expansions. You're able to bring in new villains and new models and stuff like that. Totally worth it. Whether it's going to be the case, I don't think so. Because I swear, the day that Target starts selling expansions to something like that is when pigs fly. But I think pigs fly, dude. I think we might see it with Villainous. I think it might sell enough where it could warrant an expansion. So that'll be exciting.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's like an action. Like you have a pawn that kind of goes from like site to site, and you have like a fate deck, and then you have your villain deck, and you're supposed to like from this fate deck. Each villain has their own asymmetric goal to complete. Like that is for a Target game. Holy crap!
Oh, yeah,
that is so crazy. We're going to probably talk about this a little bit more in the next segment, but Villainous, Disney, you know what? I don't know. There's not a specific designer. It's actually from a group. But yeah, I would say if you see this at Target, please pick it up. I think you'll be very surprised in a good way. Cool. So,
yeah. For me, one that I'm excited about, and once again, purely just by aesthetics and not really knowing anything about it, is Expansity. And the reason this looks really interesting to me is that you are building physical skyscrapers up on a board. It looks kind of like an abstract game, and I don't know anything about it except that it's something that I saw a couple times, and it just, once again, wet my whistle, piqued my interest.
This looks like
I don't know what else to say, but yeah, it looks great.
It looks like Sim Tower. I don't know, Sim City, Sim Tower totally. Kind of thing, right? Yeah. Or it looks like if someone were to be like, "Hey, what's up, Suburbia?" and just made it 3D, I guess. I don't know. Have you played Suburbia?
True. I love Suburbia. It was an early game in my collection as well. I still have it. I haven't played it a lot recently, but I loved that game. I was terrible at it.
Oh, I'm terrible at it too. But next time you play it, just have the Sims soundtrack in the background. Just makes that game so pleasant to play.
That's such a good idea.
Yeah.
Sim 2000 or the original?
We just ended up having just I think a mix of different like Sim building. Right. So
Sim Ant. Is it the soundtrack to Sim Ant?
No, God's sakes, no. I don't even know if Sim Ant has any like music besides like the MIDI like boop 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 boop. boop
That's it. And the spider comes and yeah. Anyway, all right.
Sim Ant, everybody. Sim Ant.
Sim Ant.
The last game. Oh God! I swear to God, I'm gonna have a dream about ants tonight. Like it is just that weird of an obscure thought that tonight I'm just gonna have like dreams of ants. Moving on. Gizmos by Simon. This game is I almost want to say is like Potion Explosion 2.0.
Totally.
It was like, everybody, we have all of these balls from Potion Explosion. What do we do with it? Make a game that is not Potion Explosion 2.0 in earnest, but have it a game called Gizmos, which I've heard is actually better than Potion Explosion. I think it takes the concept of Potion Explosion more than just matching marbles, and you have like this neat comboing system that comes off of it. And again, I am very much, I think this was announced a couple weeks before Gen Con, and it very much tickled my fancy, and I am interested in playing it. I know a friend of mine has pre-ordered it, and I am definitely going to sit down and play his copy. I am not supremely interested in buying Gizmos because I bought Potion Explosion, and while I enjoyed it, it wasn't something that I ended up feeling like I needed to have in my collection. Gizmos fits in that same category.
Yeah. So in this one, instead of multiple tracks of marbles, it's just like a giant funnel that goes into one track, correct?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. I actually have another one. I didn't put this in the notes, but I'm talking about another one. It's another Simon. Man, Simon kind of killed it in
Simon
this
is
one.
huge.
I
Simon
know,
has
it's
just
so
been doing
good.
great in terms of being like, we're more than just a company that is Kickstarters, right?
Yeah,
They're
I think
like,
they
we
found the
have,
balance.
yeah. I think they give so much crap to, or I think us as the consumer give so much crap to them for like, oh, they're just a miniatures Kickstarter board company, blah blah blah. But they're like, no, check out all this other like really great stuff that we have that we
Well,
go
I mean,
straight to retail
yeah,
for, right? It's just, I don't know, it's
yeah,
undeserved,
it's true.
undeserved.
And even to that note, even if they were just a mini Kickstarter company, they do such a good job at that I would be completely fine with that. I just love their products. I'm a big old fanboy. Anyway, the game I want to talk about is Wacky Races, which is based off of the Hanna-Barbera
Yeah.
IP from mid-century last year or last century, and it just looks fun. They have a couple versions where you have unpainted minis or painted minis, and it's a race game with awesome miniatures, and it reminds me of my childhood and watching those cartoons, and I think it just looks fun.
Nice. I've heard this one as well too. I can't say that I'm as interested. I wasn't a huge fan of the Hanna-Barbera, I think, cartoons as much. If I see it out there, I'm not going to turn it down, but
Yeah.
I'm not. It's cool that they have that collaboration, but yeah, it's kind of one I could take it or leave it for me personally.
Yeah. Totally. Well, that's awesome. Honestly, super fun Gen Con to watch. There wasn't one Fantasy Flight game on our list. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
Which is kind of weird because I always love their in-flight reports, but nothing really. I mean, other than the expansion to the Game of Thrones board game. I think that's awesome. I love that game. I don't have a copy of it anymore, but I loved the plays I had of it.
Oh, that's really cool because for me, Arkham Horror 3rd Edition was exciting news.
Oh yeah,
I'm definitely so really cool. In October they host their Arkham Nights, which is 2 days of where it's just pure HP Lovecraft Arkham horror games, which I'm going to go, and I guess they will have production copies there. So I definitely want to try it. I'm a huge fan of those type of games. So being able to know that there is an actual 3rd edition out there does excite me, and I am interested in checking it out. And I think really there's like some Star Wars Armada stuff, some Star Wars Destiny stuff, like Armada having like the biggest miniature ever, quote unquote, which
that is beautiful. Star Destroyer type thing.
Yeah, exactly. Which they say it's the largest mini ever, but I don't know. After seeing that Cthulhu monster statue, I think they have some competition. I mean, I think for Star Wars fans, that is definitely really awesome, but I would very much rather have that Cthulhu statue that one could theoretically put out in their garden.
It's a gnome.
Yeah,
it's a
like
Cthulhu gnome.
Cthulhu gnome.
Oh, that's great.
But I think I want to talk about, is it Keystone?
Yeah. Oh, Keystone. That's an interesting one.
Yeah, is it Keystone?
Yeah.
Okay.
Keystone. Yeah.
This is the unique card game that every single deck you buy is unique. No other deck in the world technically will have that exact same deck. And basically you open it and you fight, and essentially if you end up having like an overpowered deck, there's this balancing system where you end up drawing less cards in an effort to kind of tone down the deck, which is like, okay, I don't know. For me as a casual player, the idea of hunting for rarities and stuff has its moments, but in essence it's kind of burns out and it gets expensive. So being able to have something kind of competitive like this, I think, and it's also like it's extremely streamlined to the point where it was like, okay, you have Magic, then they're like, here's Hearthstone.
Yeah,
Hearthstone.
seriously.
And now it's just like, now Keystone is even more simpler, to the point where it's like one of these days, like there's just going to be a card game where it's just like you literally have the deck as your hand and you just like throw them all out. And you're just like, that's the game. Like,
see how many paper cuts, whoever gets the most paper cuts loses.
Yeah, it'll just be a point where there's literally the game there won't be anything in the game anymore. I swear to God.
It's interesting though. I think this might find the balance between casual and competitive. I'm gonna put in $10 for a deck and just try it out and see what it's like. And if I like it, maybe in a couple months I'll put in another. I don't know who I'd play it with, but I think it's interesting enough that it will get me to buy one deck. And maybe if they get enough people like that, and maybe it'll die out. But I mean, Richard Garfield, that's interesting.
Yeah. I think that's what everybody is at right now. I think they're intrigued enough that they will throw down $10, and it's almost like gambling for winning.
Totally.
I don't know. But anyways,
it's like the board game version of loot boxes.
Oh, damn. We're there yet. We're at that point, aren't we?
Shots fired. Okay, awesome. That's exciting. That is Gen Con from this year.
GenCon!
Excited to see what becomes the hottest, or like what actually stands out from it. That's cool.